Chris Ann, are you totally ready to kick us off? We are here at 3:31 and ready for Chris Ann to teach us about number tracking. I will turn it over to you, my lady, and take it away.
Am I ready? Yes. Am I nervous and ready? Very much so. I'm Chris Ann. For those of you who don't know me, I've been on a team for about 5 years now, and I started out in a much different role than what I'm currently in. So I'm just learning everything as I go and doing things as, you know, they are thrown at me and stuff like that. So the one thing that I've grown a love for is numbers and spreadsheets and data and all that stuff. And that's all thanks to Megan, really, because she's the one who kind of forced me to do it about a year ago. So the one thing that I've learned about collecting data and all that stuff is the clues that it gives us. It helps us predict the future in our business, and it also helps us correct a lot of our mistakes that we've made in the past. The one thing that I've grown to love about what it's helping us predict is when we're looking at the seasonality of our business, I can say, you know, for 2021, if our goal is blank, I can predict, you know, 8% of that business is going to come in the month of January, February, and then I can, you know, write out the goals and so forth like that. So that's really helped out us a lot in us predicting like budget-wise and unit-wise and missing people and all that stuff, and also helping us correct mistakes that we've made in the past. So I guess what questions does everyone have? So this way I can answer what you're all looking for. I know some of you have talked about, let's see here. I have how we track them. It's nothing fancy by any means. I don't have any fancy spreadsheet or anything like that going on. Let me find the email.
So maybe everyone can like put in the chat box one thing you're wanting to take away from Chris Ann today, so she can make sure and tailor it a little bit and knows exactly what you guys are looking for to make this a valuable exchange.
Okay, so one of the questions that I had was literally, what do I track? I think everything, but what I started out with was, you know, the key metrics: units, volume, GCI, net profit, lead source, and expenses. And they're like, everything just kind of grew from there. I mean, one of my spreadsheets, it started out with literally like 20 columns, and now I've got like 60 columns in it that I track stuff. I track everything from days from the time that a contract goes under contract to the time that it closes. How many days is that for us on average? So this way I can say, you know, for us, when we're writing a contract with a newer buyer agent, hey, make sure you put the closing date maybe 40 days out versus 30 days, because we're getting into that time frame where things are getting pushed out a little bit longer. I'm tracking our listings from the time that they go live to the time that they go under contract, because last year it was about 30 days from the time that it went live on the MLS to the time it went under contract. Right now I'm sitting at 3 days. And just seeing that history, we're tracking obviously the lead source, our average commission rate, because even though we say, oh, it's 3% commission on all of our transactions, once you start breaking down all the individual numbers from referrals to if the agent cuts some of their commission to help pay for a repair or something like that, it's not always 3%. So last year, our average commission rate was 2.75. This year, Q1, we were at 3.03. So that's telling me that our agents went out and found homes where the commission rate was higher than 3%. So we got a higher commission average on our stuff. I track I had it all organized, and then, you know, things just kind of go crazy. Let me pull it up here.
Would you maybe consider screen sharing with us what you're looking at?
Sure. Okay. I'm not techie, so please bear with me. Can you guys see that? Yeah. Okay, cool. So this is our 2019 business snapshot. When I open up this spreadsheet, this is just what I call my highlight overview of our entire business without having to go major into detail on a lot of the numbers. I start out with the units. So this was the goal. This is what we were pending, put under contract. And this is what actually closed. So I wanted to see what we were actually pending for that month and what we were actually closing for that month. I also have the gap here, and I wanted to know of that, how many of it was buyers, how many of it was sellers, so I can see what percentage was buyers, what percentage was sellers. I also have the volume here, goal, what we had pending, and then actual. This was GCI as a whole for the team. Obviously, goal, projected, actual. This is what the team was getting before our splits with KW. And this is what we were actually making at the end. This was our operating budget. As you can see, Megan helped me a lot last year with our operating budget. We cut a lot of expenses. And then our cost of sale. Honestly, I didn't understand fully to an extent what cost of sale was until last year. I thought it was just, oh, just your splits with the agents, and that was it. It wasn't until I was educated that not only is it the splits with our agents, but it's also our splits with the KW firm, so our royalty and company dollar, any referral fees that we had attached to that, that's all part of our cost of sale. And that was a huge eye-opener for us because we realized that we made a mistake in an agent split that we had with an agent on the team. We gave her a very generous split. And at the time, we thought we were doing something good to keep her with the team, when in reality, what we were doing, we were hurting the team as a whole because of the split that we thought was great at the time turned out not to be so great because we were actually working on a negative expense with her. We weren't making any money on any of the transactions that she was receiving from us. We were actually pretty much paying her to process the transaction to that point. So knowing those cost of sales was huge for us. And we were able to slowly correct things for 2020. Our listing goal for the year, and then also lead sources. Now, for the lead sources for 2020, I kind of revamped it a little bit. I did like our main legs of business. And then within there, then I kind of got into the finer details. So for our SOI, not only would that be from like past clients, but it would also be like any personal leads that I would bring to the team and that sort of thing. So I just tweaked that a little bit, but I wanted to see how much of our business was coming from where, and where we were putting our money, was it profitable or not? Some of the stuff we ended up nixing because it just wasn't profitable. Or like, for instance, social media, we were not spending a whole lot on ads, but our return was pretty significant. So we put a little bit more into our social media this year to bring that up. And I also like to have just a good highlight of our appointments set to appointments held, because this helped us see like how many appointments the agents were going on and how many they were holding to help us get to the contracts. So this was all of 2019. And then down at the bottom, what I started doing is I wanted to see if I could kind of predict the end of the year with these numbers. And for the most part, I came pretty close with the formulas I was putting in. From what I was pending, if we closed everything out as it was pending, we would have had 148 last year. But what we actually closed, it was going at 108. And what technically closed was 105. Actually, we ended up having some get pushed back just due to the recording of the deeds and stuff like that. So I couldn't count it in 2019, but we pretty much hit it right on the spot. And then what I also track is the averages for each quarter. So I can see for the year on average, how much do we do our business in quarter 1, in quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4. For us, we do a lot of our business in quarter 2 and 3. Any questions so far? I don't see.
We do. So we have one is, how often do you update these numbers? Also, are they being pulled into the spreadsheet from somewhere, or do you manually enter them each time?
Okay. Yes. So I update these numbers normally twice a week when I stick to my time block. I'm not going to lie. I love to geek out on the spreadsheet, and I could literally sit here all day and make it pretty and add formulas and all that stuff. I try and stick to my time block. It actually, a lot of this information auto imports from this tab over here. Once it comes in here, I've entered formulas onto all these other tabs down here that will take a lot of this data and do the calculations for me. So it's really just a one-stop. It comes in here, and then it will come and auto-populate over here. It will auto-populate to part of my P&L down here, my economic model, agent history, my lore, all that stuff. It will auto-populate. This, I learned as I was making this, how to use the auto-populate and the formulas and stuff like that. So it definitely was a huge learning curve, and erasing some stuff, updating stuff, copying the whole entire spreadsheet for 2020 and adding new formulas and all that stuff, because I found new tips and tricks on how to auto do a lot of the formulas for me. So it's still a learning curve, but all thanks to YouTube, I was able to do a lot of this without any sort of educational background whatsoever. Like, I did not go to school for spreadsheets. No one has taught me anything on spreadsheets. This was strictly from YouTube and Googling, I mean, everything. Like, I Googled how to write a formula in Google Spreadsheets, and think, like, you'd be amazed what you can find on the internet on how it can help you with all of this.
And can you see the lore tab?
Sure. I want to show you the 2020 lore tab because it looks super duper pretty. So as you can see, we started doing this in 2017. Our business, we started the Signature Group in 2015. So I'm missing 2 years, but this is showing us for the last 4 years of everything.
KrisAnne, because we only have an hour and we could probably, like, you could spend 8 hours explaining everything that you track. Would you give us like the 5 things that, if you had to just pick 5 things to track, what would they be?
5 things. Okay. For financial purposes, I would track your units, volume, GCI, net profit, and expenses, without a doubt. Those are the ones that you need to track. On agent metrics, I would track how many dials, texts that they're making, appointments set to appointments converted. So if they're actually going on those appointments, and then how many contracts they're writing from that.
Awesome.
And
Oh, go ahead, Megan. I was going to say we had a couple of questions come in too from Elizabeth, and is that Ray?
Right?
Okay, the two questions we had was around how do you get agents to get excited about reporting their numbers and getting them on board just to do it in the first place?
Yes. So the one thing that we did, we will have contests throughout the year. The biggest thing that we do every month is called our Top Dog Award. And it's this cheesy 50-cent golden top dog that we bought, I think through Amazon, I think we got it from. I mean, you touch the thing and the whole thing falls apart. I mean, that's how cheap and cheesy they are. But these agents love this Top Dog Award. And every month we will name who gets the top dog from the production that they do that month. So them turning in the contract snapshots and closing out deals to earn this Top Dog Award drives them. Then we do, every quarter we do our Beast Award, and it's this cheesy, it looks like a wannabe Hulk figure, and it just says the Beast on there, and they ended up decorating it and all that stuff. And every quarter, the top producing agent gets that. And then we'll do contests throughout the year. The one that really drives not only the two agents on the team, but also like the people around us, we had Battle of the Blondes, and our two blonde agents, we only had two agents at the time who happened to be blonde, and they duked it out for who could put the most buyers under contract for the month. And I tell you what, the Battle of the Blondes, like people are still talking about that contest. And then what we recently started doing, I started to put their numbers on blast, because the numbers that the agents turn in, they usually have just a one-on-one conversation with the lead buyer's agent, and it's just them and no one else. No one else on the team sees it, nothing like that. So I started to put their numbers on blast. I want everyone to see how many appointments set, how many appointments you're going on, what you're pending, and what you're closing. So this way you can't hide behind anything because no one else sees it. So
you collect a lot of data, Chrisanne. How do you, like, some questions I know people have are like, how do you actually get the agents to give you the data other than the competitions? Like, logistically, are you, like, how do you collect it?
Right. So we have a Google form that they fill out every day, and it has on there like everything from how many contact styles. I mean, it has everything on there, and they literally just put their numbers in, and then that form is linked to a spreadsheet, and it auto populates it out for them. And then, which in return, we will put it into the correct format, and then it gives us, let me see if I can pull it up. Gives us our conversion on stuff. Uh-oh. Nope, this is not it. So this is from Q1, and we have the agents over here. Oops. We have on here like all the numbers that they need to input into their Google form. And it just auto-populates here. We have it down here broken into the week. They literally just have to put the day in there. And then when it populates on the spreadsheet that's attached to that Google form, like the date will be here, and we literally just copy it and paste it right here. And then that will then in return come over here to the summary. And it just adds all the numbers. And then down here, I have the total for the entire month.
So
And we do
daily,
this-
they fill out a Google form for you, and then you do that. You do this with that data.
Yep. For the most part, they're pretty good about filling out that Google form. There's one agent who can be my problem child. And what I have to do for her, I just have to put her numbers on blast. And then that makes her want to turn in her numbers. So this way she's not getting zeros across the board. Because if you don't put it there, I'm saying it's a 0. So if you actually had 4 appointments that you went on, then you better turn in your Google form that states that. If not, it's 0. And if you don't like it, turn in the form. I can't see any of the other questions, so please just interrupt me if anyone pops up. Any other questions on forms? We use Google Forms a lot in our business. Everything from when the agents have a transaction that goes under contract, they turn in what we call a snapshot to our TC. And it's just a list of questions that TC would need to have her start her process on processing the transaction. And that's essentially like her trigger that tells her there's a new under contract and to start. She knows that she is not to start anything on any transaction until she receives that snapshot, period. So they know that unless if they want to process it, they better turn in that snapshot. So this way she'll process it. And we also have it on there that there's required sections that they have to complete in order to submit it. And if it's left blank, they won't be able to submit that. And then we have that auto populate to a spreadsheet, and then we can see how many snapshots they turn in every month. And then we can see of those snapshots, did they all close? Did they terminate? Why did they terminate? And all that stuff. We have a very low fallout rate for our agents. So far this year, we've had 1 terminate this year. And that's out of, we have put 25 buyers under contract. I want to say it was 25. Where is it?
Chrisanne, what is the most impactful thing, like, or piece of information, like what is the most useful thing that you get from tracking the data? Like, what do you do with the data that you're tracking, and what's the most useful thing you do with it?
So the most useful thing for it is it helps us understand our business. It helps us see what we're doing well. It helps us see what we need to improve on. It shines light on our mistakes and all that stuff. If we weren't tracking this data, we would have no idea where we should be going, period. We shouldn't know, like, oh my goodness, our agents aren't making dials. Is it because they're just not making dials, or is it like a skill thing? So then we can see, like, from the data, like, oh, you were making blank number of dials every day and then you backed off. Why? What's going on? Is it a personal thing going on, or is it a professional thing going on? And we're just there, you know, shedding light on the information that's provided through the data that we're tracking. It's helping us predict our future. What should we put more effort in? What should we take off? All of that.
Let's open, I mean, who's got questions for Chrisanne, and you know, what, or for each other, you know, there's how many, 20 people on here. So for Chrisanne or for the group about numbers tracking. And while you guys think of your questions, because I know some of you are internal processors, so think of your question for a second while Chrisanne tells us the your best tip, Chrisanne, like the #1 best tip you've got for tracking numbers.
So I'm going to steal your phrase that you gave me earlier this week. Keep it simple. don't overcomplicate it. Because the more you overcomplicate things, it's going to get confusing. You're going to forget what you're tracking, why you're tracking it, and all that stuff. Just keep it simple and track what's important in your business. Because I track it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right thing for you to be tracking. So just take a look at your business and where you're at and track what's important for your business, and start with the basics and then slowly build out from there once you've mastered, your key metrics, and that's your units, volume, GCI, net profit, and expenses. And then start, building off of that.
Given that same point, I'd love to hear what other people are tracking, if it looks the same or similar to what you're showing us now.
Anyone?
I just joined a team last year that was not tracking a single thing, not any numbers. They couldn't tell you what the income, what anything was before I joined. So I'm sort of building a lot of this stuff out. Mm-hmm. But what you actually helped me realize is that I can connect all of the things together that I have been using as tools. And I didn't realize that until you came on. So I appreciate it. But I am tracking a lot of the same things as you are.
Now, the one thing when it comes to like linking spreadsheets, you can only link it within what I call like the master spreadsheet. Like this, the 2020 business snapshot, that's the master spreadsheet. Once you come down here to the tab spreadsheets, you can only link within these tabs. You can't link it to like this other master spreadsheet. At least I haven't figured out how yet. There's a way besides PieSync and Zapier. There is a way. I just haven't figured it out yet.
Anybody figured that out? Because you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the formula you're looking for is import range. If you use an import range formula, then you can pull from any spreadsheet that's within anywhere on the internet, so long as you have access.
Cool. Another thing that I started tracking is what was moving into another month for us. So March, we had a lot of pendings for March, but we had 6 of them move into the next month, which ruined our numbers for quarter 1. It made us look very, very sad, but in return, it made our start to quarter 2 pretty freaking fabulous. But I do track to see what's moving into the following month. And I will also see how many days it takes us to close any particular transaction. I track the average check that we receive. So this way I can see on average what we should be expecting for most of us. I will track that also for the agents as well. The one thing that I found out today by tracking the average commission check for an agent of ours is it changes how many units that she needs to close this year, because she is working with a lot of investors that she originally did not plan on working with. So if she still wants to make her goal for income for the year, she's either going to have to put a lot more investors under contract, or she's going to have to up her average of sale price.
We had so many questions on getting agents to, like, how do you get agents to actually track it? Maybe let's open that up to the group and do a little mastermind or brainstorming. What are some other people's like best tips for getting your agents to report their data?
For us, the number one thing is we do, like you said, sort of like social. We tell everybody what everybody's reporting, and we use that obviously as a big piece. So people then get put on blast or they get celebrated. But I find that the best thing that we can do is simply give them a reason to do it. So anytime I ask something of our agents, I have some sort of a document that shows that they're going to receive something in exchange. So for instance, we use something similar to what you were just talking about with us, a form that shows when they set an appointment. And anytime they set an appointment, they get 5 things if it's a listing, 3 things if it's a buyer, 2 things if it's a recruit, and things along those lines. And so we have these documents to show them what they're getting out of giving us that info.
Anyone else having success with agents turning in numbers on time? And maybe the most accurate numbers, because I find a lot of times they're kind of just shooting in the dark how many dials they made and contacts that they had. I mean, obviously when it comes to appointments set, that's in their calendars. They can most accurately go back and check to see what they did. But when it comes to the contacts and the dials and all that stuff, I have this feeling that it's a big shot in the dark. Like, oh, I think I sent 10 text messages this morning and made 25 dials. It's not accurate, which obviously that's going to mess with their conversion rates. And we can't accurately say like, hey, you need to make X amount of dials to get to your X amount of contacts.
My team doesn't currently track that, but my former team used Mojo as a dialing system.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose if they use that per call, it would track that for you. If you had them make their calls through that system. Or another thing I was thinking of while you were talking about it was you could have them call through Google, like make the calls from a Google number, but it could still be from their phone, and Google will track the number of calls.
So through a Google Voice.
Yeah. The other thing is Command tracks that through Kelly. So if you have them, if their Kelly app is on their phone, they can literally mark the calls to the contacts as they make them, and then I'm fairly certain their Command dashboard will track that for them.
It does, yeah. It would show up in their reporting as long as they manually entered the call. Like
Right,
you
if it was
used
Kelly.
but then you're right.
Mhm.
We find that, or we found that we were not getting accurate information the same as you. And so what we have done is we don't ask for the contacts anymore. The only time people actually fill out information is when an appointment is set, a listing is signed, or a buyer is ratified. And we use those numbers to then populate all of our information. And when an agent is falling behind their goal, then we have them commit to, because they have to be the one committing. We have them commit to counting their contacts, in which case they use an app that we have with AppSheet to record those contacts at the end of the day.
Are you still finding the same results with the tracking just from like the appointment set and stuff?
I'm not sure I understand what you mean.
So for us, like the reason why we track the number of dials and to two-way convos and all that stuff is so this way we can shine some light on like, hey, the reason why you're not making the contacts is because you only made 25 dials. So are you seeing that by not tracking all that and tracking it later on in the metric system that you're still seeing them put the number of contracts under contract?
Yeah, so for us, we have one of the things that we've done when we stopped counting contacts was we started really pushing on the appointment set to where everybody has their own individual goal for appointment set. And we have a 11:45 team call every day that people jump on and say, I am 1 appointment for the 2 that is my goal. I am 2 for 3. I am 3 for 2. And it's a 5 to 10 minute call that everybody jumps on to sort of report. And what we find is the agents that are falling behind their own goal, when we meet with them and we be like, hey, what can you do to make this better? Inevitably, they come up with the answer of, I need to talk to more people. And be like, okay, well then if we're in agreements on that, then let's track how many people you're actually talking to. And we sort of back into it on the people that aren't actually hitting their goals, because the people that are, I don't really care how many people they're talking to. They're setting appointments and putting people under contract. So.
Okay. That makes perfect sense.
On a side note too, I did want to do, these spreadsheets are amazing. They're free and they're not too difficult to build. You also can look at CTE Biz if you're wanting something like that too. Now, again, it doesn't track necessarily all the same things, and there is a cost to it. So the Google Sheet's a great route, or an Excel sheet, but CTE Biz is also something you could use to do this and allow you some of those same functions.
Right.
And then also, I wanted to address a question. Kelsey, I believe this was to you, but I'm sure we're all thinking it, right? So how do you plan your goals and your numbers for future years when you have something crazy like COVID-19 happen? I'm going to get on my soapbox for just a couple of minutes, and then I'll hand it over to some masterminding, right? My thought is always going back to what Gary Keller says, and I'm sure others have said it. This is where I heard it, right? A goal is just a dream with some action dates and accountability behind it. So why was that goal important? And is it suddenly not? Right? Because if it was a true goal and a dream that we are going after with a date, then the real question isn't, well, how does that change? The question is, what activities need to change now to ensure we hit that because of the current circumstances? Right? Like, what if we never went back to normal? We all just give up on our goals? Right? We don't hit those things. We no longer want to save. We no longer want to put kids through college, buy a house. We don't give up on that stuff. It all stays. So don't look at it as changing the end result. Look at it as, what activities do we need to change and adjust to make sure we hit that, right? And a lot of that looks like counterbalancing, where to perform at a high level, we're way, way off. And there may be some long hours to make sure we're hitting the numbers we need for now. Right, temporary to get through this. But I would start there, and that's why it's impactful to look at the GPS. The overall GPS goal doesn't change. We review that quarterly to see if the strategies that we created are working effectively. And they may not be during this time. So the overall goal stays the same. Those strategies, which are activities, may need to change. And I'd love to hear everyone else's thought, mastermind around it. But for me, that's very much how I look at it, is what do my activities need to do to reach that goal that was important.
I would agree. And Megan and I actually talked about this, gosh, when this started like 2 months ago, because we were very heavy on our GPS with client events and face-to-face activities. And that obviously is not happening now. So she said, so is the goal still the goal? And what are you going to do to get there? And if client events is important, you're still going to do it. How do you do it? And I will never forget, she ended it with, be creative, be weird, and it will be fine. So that's what we're doing. I mean, we're still figuring it out, but she's absolutely right. The GPS was the goal, and what are we willing to do it?
Yeah, for us, it's the same thing that you guys just said. None of our goals changed. We set all of our goals around our individual agents' goals, and then anything that, if there's a delta between where we want to be as a team and where their cumulative are, then we know then that it's our recruiting has to come in to answer that question. And it's the exact same thing, right? Everybody has their same goal. We still hold them accountable to their own goal. And if they're not sort of stepping up, then we have those difficult conversations with them. In terms of our events, we're the same. We do a lot of events that are sort of driving where a lot of appointments come from. And so we've just pivoted on what the events are. So, our next event is it's in place of our brewery events that we usually do for one of our farms. So in 1,300 homes. So instead of us inviting everybody at the farm to a brewery where we buy them a few drinks, we are getting them to sign up online to a Zoom call where we're getting everybody in there, and anybody that signs up, we're delivering them a growler of beer. And we have a Facebook Live going on the same time that everybody can have the Facebook Live on their phone and the Zoom on their computer. With the Facebook Live, we have a DJ that's going to be having music going on Facebook Live to get some sort of people going there. And then on a separate laptop, everybody's communicating.
Weird. I love it. We've got about 15 minutes left, so maybe this is a great place to spend a little time masterminding around. And if you don't agree, just ask a different question, because you all just unmute yourself and do what you want. But maybe we could mastermind a little around, what are some things you've done to continue to work towards your goal inside of the pivot that you've had to make based on your state's lockdown requirements?
Virtual open houses are the big one for us. So a lot more of our agents who historically haven't been doing that haven't been doing open houses are now picking up virtual open houses. We are doing them. We have a pretty significant thing. Obviously, we talked about this last Friday, so I'm not going to go too in depth. That's just one of the big things that we're doing. And then the second thing is we are hyperlocal geographic targeting in a very significant way. And a lot of the people who have been hesitant to start their farms and really dive in are finding that this is, as bad as this sounds, an opportunity to do that. They call around to every person in their farm and they have a script that says, hey, we have a Facebook group and we're getting all of the neighbors together for to sort of like raise their hands if anybody needs help. And we want to just call around and see if anybody needs anything. Are you out of toilet paper? Do you need groceries? Whatever the case is. And truthfully, a lot of those people are saying, actually, I'm okay, but I'd be happy to help if something does come up. You'd be like, okay, well, I'm glad that you're doing well. If something does come up, would you mind if I sent you an email with my contact information so that you can then reach out to me for any help of anything that needs coming up? And what that's doing is it's collecting emails. And what we're finding is a significantly higher number of people are actually giving their emails that way versus before when we're saying, would you like to know the market stats or whatever the case is? So, we have one married couple who their farm is 3,400 homes. They've never reached out to any of them. And they are now into the C's. They're finishing up the C's. They're going alphabetically. And they're getting like 70, 80% of emails. Like, it's astronomical. So that is a big piece that we've been doing.
Cameron, roll your chair back over here, buddy. Cameron wrote a plan.
I was just saying, like, everyone can see us on Zoom, not social distancing. Everyone's going to get mad at us.
That's not why I don't care about that. But you wrote a plan to double your leads through marketing. So like the operations department to double leads incoming to the team when this all started. And you're slowly working on that. But tell us a little bit about your plan and what you're doing.
Well, that's actually why he wanted me to roll over there, is because we are not succeeding at it. And we've done math that we need to put more money in, which I don't like that idea. So we're looking at where we can get leads, how we can be more creative. And we're still taking a lot of listings. And so we're trying to use those in a better way. So we've tried a bunch of different things that have kind of worked, but just not well enough. Like the Facebook Marketplace, we had never posted anything on there, but we just posted all of our listings to Facebook Marketplace, and people started to message us, hey, is this house available? Things like that. So a lot of it has just been trying to really advertise our listings, has been something we've been working on. So if you guys have ideas for me, I would love to get more leads through listings.
I have an idea for you.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I'm a millennial and I use my millennial resources wisely. So TikTok is a big deal right now. I'm not here to tell you that I think it's going to change real estate. That's not what I'm going to tell you. However, there is some value in how those videos are being made and the transitions that they use. And so I actually challenged my buyer's agent to go to TikTok, look at how the kids are making the videos, and then make one of her own, but not use it on TikTok, use it on social media, you know, Facebook stories and Instagram stories. She did that, and we put it on command and pushed it out there, and we've already got 15 leads from it. People
super
loved
cute.
it.
Do you have the link you could put in the box or something so people could go and look at it?
You know what? I may. Can I screen share? I could show it to you, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on one
Everyone
second.
like
I'll
to
pull
see
it up.
that? Can we let Kaylee take
Do you
the
want
screen?
to?
Yeah,
Okay.
grab it.
All right, let me see if I can't pull up just the video itself. Bear with me here. I'm gonna, feel free to talk amongst yourselves while I pull it up.
While she does that, I was going to ask you, Cameron, how the marketplace went, because my community here like is obsessed with that, but where I'm originally from, no one used it. So how did it work out for you?
I only get really weird messages so far.
Of course.
Like the last one I got, like 2 days ago, they texted and said, "Hey, is this still available?" And I said, "Yes." And then they said, "No." And then I said, "Or do you want to go see it?" And they said, "No." And then I said, "Are you interested in homes?" And then they didn't write me back. And that's how a lot of the messages have been. So it might just not have caught on here in Utah.
Sounds on par with Craigslist leads. So.
Yep.
All right, y'all, here it is. You can see it, I assume? All right. That's it. That's it. Super quick. I made this last little graphic in Canva with the moving thing, with the moving parts, and then I added it to the end of the video. We posted it in, hold on one second. There we go. We posted it on Facebook stories, Instagram stories, and then I used it in Command as a paid ad. And we got a ton of viewership, 14 leads from it already. And I think something is glitching in Command because it says I haven't spent any money on it yet. So I'm not really sure what's up with that, but it seems to be working.
Love it. Super cute. And 14 leads, nothing to sneeze at. How long did it take her to make?
Oh, gosh. It took her probably 20 minutes to shoot the clips, and I used software on my phone to put all the clips together. So, I mean, the whole project, maybe an hour between the two of us. So, I mean,
You get it down to a system, Kaylee. How long do you think it would take? Like if you got in a repetition of doing it?
easy, quick, really quick. I mean, if she could figure out how to tape her transitions quickly, it would probably take her 20 minutes a house. And then for me to edit all the clips together with the software that I have, if I got it down to a science, probably 15 minutes or so. I mean, it's really easy. I mean, the kids on TikTok are doing it. They're kids. So I'm just saying.
So in other words, I need to have my 12-year-old do it for us.
Yes, that is what I heard as well. Yes.
I mean, honestly, she did that. She went to her 11-year-old daughter and said, "Show me TikTok." And she did. And then she just taped the clips of her doing it. I maybe coached her a little bit on how to do that. And she sent me the clips, and the editing process is really easy with some software on your phone. So I'm not saying it's the only way. I'm just saying Gary Vee says TikTok's the way. So.
Any other questions on number tracking or adding to our database, which our last like 15-minute mastermind turned into, before we go away and come back again next week?
Or is anybody doing something that they'd like to share that we haven't talked about?
I am working, well, you already know, Paul, but everyone else. I'm working on getting more involved, just like in general for leads, just more community, and trying to get involved with community, but not like philanthropic, if you will, more just like engagement. So I know for me, I'm doing a Mother's Day giveaway coming up, and basically they just have to, it's like a really pretty graphic with like flowers on it, and they just have to share it, like it, and follow us. They have to do all three, and then they get entered. And they have to tag like all the moms in their life. So my goal with it, and I'll keep you guys posted, but is that it just like gets out there and kind of spreads the word more than just what maybe our normal targeted ads do or just regular posting, because I think that everyone is like really into social media right now and they have nothing else to do except for scroll through Facebook. So I'm just hoping like in the future what will happen is all these people will follow us on Facebook, and then they'll see our future listing advertisements, and then maybe I can pull some leads from that in the future. So it might take a while to see the return on investment, but I'm only giving away a $50 gift card, so it's not like this huge thing. But I'm trying new stuff on social media, just anything. People are just on there so much these days, so I don't know.
We had a lot of success with a photo scavenger hunt, which was awesome. And they sent it out to the database. They did an email, and then it was all through a Facebook in their group for their team. And they were to submit different items and things to them. So it was a way to collect that. And part of it was like drawing a picture. So if I can screen share, a client I work with, Alicia, I'm going to get her on here, but she does like amazing stuff. Like, so this is her stay-at-home photo scavenger hunt. And like some of it is like Picasso, move over. There's a new artist in town. Draw a picture of your favorite Disney character and pose like that character next to your picture. She has real creative items and things she does. So I would suggest that one. She had a lot of success, a lot of turn in, and everyone could participate in the family with that.
That's a great event replacement too. I mean, you could make that is an event right there.
We are doing a senior graduation portrait. Say that 10 times fast. For the seniors in our database. We had an agent speak up earlier this week. She's like, "Oh my gosh, Sally Mae from 2016, her son is graduating and he doesn't get to have a graduation. How cool would it be if we could just come over and just take a picture of him on his front porch and then his cap and gown?" So we are reaching out to everyone in our past client database to find out who's got some graduating kids, and we're going to do some senior portraits for them on their front porch. This is going to help us also update any of our missing people that we had that we haven't chatted with in a while, and get updated addresses and all that stuff.
Chris-Ann, one plus that by telling your database who want porch portraits to go on to Nextdoor and tell them that you're coming through the neighborhood for porch portraits, and if they want to sign up, to contact you. That porch portraits is like the #1 way I've had clients actually add new METs to the database, like new relationships to the database versus leads.
Gotcha.
So you're looking for, I mean, somebody who knows, likes, and trusts you instantly, like go take a professional portrait of their kid who's graduating as a senior.
Right. Thank you for that tip.
Yeah, new leads, one that was working well. We've made an edit to it. So initially was Megan and Paul, I don't know if we talked about it on this call, but it was the dropping like $50 off in your business cards or the team's business cards at a coffee shop or a local pizza shop and telling them just to take $5 off each order when customers come in and hand that out. We had a lot of success with that. And then we transitioned it though into doing that again, but this time there was a little bit of instructions to send a picture in or email that you received that so you could be entered into another contest. Because the other way was very passive, right? Like they're just waiting for people to call them. Where now if you're like, hey, send a picture and you'll be entered into another contest to win a gift card to that place. Now they're sending their email and you have their contact info. So that was way.
It's a great idea. I love that. I've been telling my clients about your gift card thing, Zach, because I think that's a great way to get, because small business referrals, I think if you can like make some small business your raving fans right now, you're in good stuff when you get out of this.
Yeah. Especially if you're in a farm area.
Well, and they know everyone we want to talk to, right? Like their database is literally the people we want to be able to speak to, and they know them all, a good majority of them.
Anybody else?
You know, I'm a little bit of a spreadsheet nerd as well. But there's one app that I recently jumped on, which for anybody that does have spreadsheets that they're tracking, it's called AppSheet. It was recently bought by Google. It allows you to turn your spreadsheet data into a live app that then can be used. I could show it to you if you guys want. It took literally a few hours a day for 5 days to get this going. Keeping in mind that I already had all the spreadsheets and everything up, but it is something that I know that my Rainmaker absolutely loves. And it allows the agents to have all of the data that we pull in their pocket, as opposed to them trying to figure out, hey, where am I this year? Or what is my activity level, or whatever the case is.
So we end the call with a great business hack.
So this is my phone. This is the app. So we got all of 2020, each of the agents. And if you click into the agent, they can see their activity grade. So I have a little algorithm that they use to say if they're doing well or they're falling behind based on their goal. Contacts, again, we don't track contacts for anybody that, you know, is meeting their goal. So he obviously hasn't been tracking his, but sphere size, we have the same thing on the weekly basis. So it shows last week, and then each individual last week, current month, 2020 for us as a team, the area where they report contacts, and then references where they can get taken to all of the other places that we use. So something that that my Rainmaker was a fan of that we recently implemented.
I liked how you had on one of them activity grade is an A.
Yeah, now there's a reason I showed him. He's one of the few A's.
But for people who are competitive, that's a great idea.
Oh yeah.
Like, there's no way I would let mine say anything other than an A.
Yes. What was that app called again, Thomas?
It's called AppSheet, AppSheet. It takes a little bit of like getting used to how to use the system, but essentially you just integrate it with one of your Google spreadsheets. And if you format the spreadsheet right, it'll just push it right over and you just put it up. It's pretty straightforward. There's videos online that'll walk you through it.
Thank you.
Well, that was great, everybody. Did everybody get something out of it? Awesome.
I did.
I've gotten something out of every single one of these calls, so all of you guys have to be getting something. Cool. Same time, same place next week. All
Looking
right.
forward to it.
All right.
Thanks,
See everyone
everybody.
later. Thank
We
you.
will see everybody next week.
Bye.
Bye.